Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dojo Podcast. This is episode 6, I believe. I'm Logan.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm Thomas.
And this we're recording this episode on 24th of April, but that was in the pre-card, so everyone already knew that except me, apparently. So let's just jump right into sports like we do most weeks. Literally last night, as we recorded this, the Blazers secured a second round spot in the Western Conference playoffs in like the best possible way. Straight up, unbelievable. Damian Lillard, So what do you guys?
It was quite the game to watch. We went to B-Dubs. It was Tuesday, traditional Wing Tuesday. Watched the game. Bone-in wings. Watched the game there. It was pretty incredible to watch. How many points did Lillard have in the first half? In
50.
The first half.
34.
30
something.
Somewhere
It was
around
30.
there.
Yeah, CJ was in foul trouble. He had 3 fouls within like the first fucking
6 or 7 minutes.
6 or 7
Yeah.
minutes. So
It's
he
rough.
sat for the first half. He came back and had like a 17-point game, which is like pretty good. But Damian Lillard was the star of the game.
Absolutely.
So, and like everybody else played pretty well too. I mean, except for the first half, everybody had like 2 points, and I think it was like Mo Harkless that had like 6 points.
Whoa, that's quite a performance for Mr. Harkless.
Yeah, but it was pretty cool to see. And when the game concluded, when the shot was hit, Vincent and Logan were in the living room watching the game. I was in the kitchen making like a breakfast sandwich or something, and I just suddenly hear them scream, "Oh!" And then I run in
down the stairs.
I heard hugging each other.
I ran in and I saw them hug each other. I'm like, damn, it was that serious. And then I saw the replay and I was like, damn, it was that serious.
37-footer.
I saw this one thing. There have been 6 buzzer beaters to win a series in NBA history, and Dame has 2 of them.
Yeah, and
he has 2. MJ has 2.
So he's basically Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
I want to say Charles Barkley has one of them.
I don't remember. I think John Stockton has one, and someone else has another one.
Some no name.
Yeah, so he's got like a third of the series winning buzzer beaters, which is they're quite rare.
Yeah, and Paul George was throwing some shade after. He was like, "Oh, that's a bad shot. That's a terrible shot." Granted, it's not the best look he could have gotten.
He's not wrong, but
it went
not
in.
the time.
I mean,
Still made it.
Statistically speaking, above 30 feet, he's shooting the most efficient out of like anybody else
in
the
this series.
playoffs.
He was like 9 for 12 from 30 feet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean,
5 games.
Technically, it's not a good shot, but when
Paul
you're
was
hitting like that,
he was probably
Paul
mad too
Saul,
because
he's
he
big
defended
man.
it
He's
well.
big man.
He
He had hand
right
in his
up on
face.
him.
Like, he could have been a step faster. I feel like.
I don't
He was
know.
a little-
He
'cause,
saw him
I mean-
do the step back, and he stepped in, and he was right there.
I mean, everybody knew who was taking the last shot, but
Well, yeah.
I mean, he defended it as well.
He should be more upset at his garbage teammate because Paul George was way better throughout the series. He was like making better shots, and basically that should be considered his team now because he's just better than Westbrook, and it's just like Westbrook hucked up so many terrible shots this series, and it's like I would be upset at my teammate if I were him because that's just not cool.
I think that's really a knock on Westbrook's legacy because since KD left for Golden State, I think they're 0-9 now on the road, and they haven't won a playoff series without him. So, I mean, pretty disappointing. So, I guess you're right in it being PG's team, unless they, decide to do something, trade him.
I don't know why they would trade Paul George.
Yeah, they wouldn't trade him.
Well.
He made a big deal about staying last summer, so I don't see them trading him, but I don't see a lot of success coming unless they I think the pieces are there, but I mean, their coach is gone.
Well, I don't see any success coming for any NBA team until somebody leaves the Warriors.
I mean,
like in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I mean, KD's gone.
If KD leaves
and Boogie's gone,
then it gets interesting next year because then.
I mean, honestly, I think they'll keep Clay and Steph. That'll be like their two. That's like
two little shooter guys.
Yeah.
Then Steph can finally be like, because like for the last few years since they've got KD's like, I want the ball, and Steph's like, cool man, I'm just here to win some games. So Steph's like unbelievably good at like changing his game to fit what he needs to do. So like he hasn't won a Finals MVP. If the Warriors win it all this year, which they will, I really hope Steph gets a Finals MVP because KD will have gotten 3 in a row. And it's like, I honestly think Steph is like as good a player, and it's his team. It's his team. They don't need KD as much as they need Steph. So I'd really like to see him get that.
That's the thing. I think as a leader, he's better because KD, he obviously had to go to a team like Golden State. I mean, he's always been a scoring champion and he could perform on that team, but he had to go to a different team in order to get to that status.
Yeah.
Steph's team. So
the hardest road. It's the hardest road. Harder than joining any other team, including like the Phoenix Suns or whoever else.
In conclusion, Paul George should have gone to the Lakers.
Yeah, the fact that he chose Westbrook over LeBron is quite a question. Not saying that the Laker team would be better than the current Thunder team is, but we would probably have lost to a Laker team in a 7-game series if they had Paul George and LeBron. Just because I don't think
I feel like
playoff Braun is like another beast.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, I feel like it would have been better if the Lakers had been an 8 seed and Golden State been the 1 seed, and then they would have gotten 2 games off of them, and then they would have won the series, won everything. But then, I mean, that was the scenario that was playing in my head.
Oh, yeah. Well,
not in a perfect world, but in here,
right. So next thing I wanted, Thomas wrote it, but I want to talk about it. Frank Clark for the Seahawks just got traded. This is before the NFL draft, so a lot of these takes are probably not going to age very well by the time this episode airs in a few days.
Hold on, quick timeout. I mean, our one episode where you said Tiger winning it all, you second guessed yourself there, and
that's true. Tiger.
Then what happened? What happened? Green jacket.
I'm gonna cut in the clip. Tiger.
Can we get Tiger hitting the shot and hugging his dad from the 2009?
You mean 1997?
Oh,
it's a long.
Fuck yeah. It's longer than
2009 is when he cheated on his wife.
Yeah, same. I mean, hugging his dad.
Same thing. So anyway, Frank Clark, Seahawks defensive end, traded days before the NFL draft, in which the Seahawks only had 4 picks, but now we have 5. So we got a first, a second next year, and then we swapped thirds with the Kansas City Chiefs. And honestly, this is a pretty good thing for the Seahawks because, quite frankly, the deal that he signed a 5-year, $105 million deal. There's no way that the Seahawks were paying him that much money. That's a fucking boatload of money. Like that's Khalil Mack money, and he's like kind of, if you broke defensive ends into tiers, he's like the upper end of the second tier, I'd say, because the top tier is like these like unbelievable defensive line talent guys, and he's just like not quite. I think he has potential to be really good. I don't know that he has potential to be like the best. But so instead of him playing 1 year for us and then leaving in free agency and we get shit, we traded basically 1 year of Frank Clark production for two high round picks. And if I know the Seahawks, and I think I do, in the draft this Thursday, we will not be taking 2 players in the first round because that is not really in line with the philosophy of like the coach in the front office. So I'd imagine we will either trade back 1 or both of the picks to acquire more picks in the draft, because 5 is kind of a skinny amount, and a first rounder can get you, maybe a 3rd and a 5th and a 6th. I'm not exactly sure, but we could really, and the Seahawks historically have gotten a lot of pretty good talent in later rounds. Russell Wilson's round 3, Richard Sherman's I think round 5, Cam Chancellor's like round 5, Bobby Wagner's like round 3 or 2 or something. We've gotten a good amount of talent in the later round in the last 10 years, so hopefully we can replicate that success again, even though we haven't had great drafts in the last couple of years. But yeah, that's what I'm hoping for this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, they got, I believe the first round pick they got was the 29th pick. So I think I agree with what you're saying is where they could potentially get more out of that and get like some later round picks. Yeah. That would be really good. Who in this draft do you think, stands out to you? Like, it could be like, top 10 guys or like, later in like, sleepers? What do you think?
I don't really, I haven't been following it a lot. I'm like a big NFL guy, but college football, I just kind of like, I follow a little bit. I follow the Beavers, which is like the most depressing thing in the world, I think. I think the best player in the draft at any position is Nick Bosa, and he's like Bosa. He's like once in a few year like talent level guy on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think he could not go number one, which is fucking unbelievable. Yeah. The fact that there's even
there was the same conversation with his brother where they were like, I don't know about his production. He's playing in this like, he's playing against people he can embarrass, and then people are hesitant against him. But I mean, in the NFL right now, he's doing like pretty well. So I feel like it translates.
The fact that people think Kyler Murray will go number one, which he might, it's like, why? Josh Rosen, you've had like 16 games. He wasn't terrible. I mean, you threw him into the fucking out of the frying pan into the fire. You just threw him in there with no help on offense except Larry Fitzgerald, who's basically like the crypt keeper at this point. He's so old. He still produces a little bit for my fantasy team, but I think they should stick with Rosen, because if they're shitty again next year, they'll have
it's
Bosa
1 year.
and
it's
another high pick.
Yeah, it's 1 year. I mean,
the QB talent next year is better as well.
Exactly. I mean, I think they're kind of basing this cute like Kyler Murray thing off the success that Russell Wilson has had. Like, he's already got a Super Bowl under his belt.
Also, the coach.
Yeah, I mean, he's an undersized QB who has the ability to get it done with his arm, and he can like get it done with the run. So I mean, it's enticing. He's shorter than Russell Wilson.
Every year, they're like, this is the next Russell Wilson, and then it's never happened. Like, Russell Wilson's a very rare guy where he's short and can run and has great pocket awareness, and he has all these things. Every time there's a even mildly mobile quarterback, they're like, it's the next Russell Wilson, and that thus far hasn't happened because Russ is still the best like dual threat guy in the league.
See, what about Dwayne Haskins now? What do you think about him? I mean, he's kind of mobile, but I feel like
he's good. He'll be first. He'll be like 8 to 15.
Yeah, he'll be like I was gonna say
he might go to the Giants, but I think more realistically he'll go to someone like the Bengals. Yeah, and then sit behind Andy Dalton, who's like
he's aging. He's aging. He's got to go.
I heard the same thing. I was like, I'm not sure. Are there any Asians in the NFL that? This is like where you would know this kind of stuff.
I feel like, I don't know, on the Patriots, I don't know if he's on the Patriots anymore. Patrick Chung.
Oh my god, he's a black guy.
No, I feel like
he's black.
If they are black, they have some kind of other essence in them.
He went to U of O, so he's.
I know that. Yeah. Shit background. Yeah. They don't produce very much.
He's looking at Patrick Chung. So I think that's enough sports for now, because we took like half our podcast for sports. So yeah, dude, this dude's black as fuck.
I don't know. He's kind of got the squint. I got really close to the mic. He's got this kind of squinty eye thing going on. I don't know about that. I don't know if that's...
He'll look up like parrots or whatever. So let's just jump right into the non-sports sections here. Thomas, is there anything you wanted to start with, or
I just want to go for a quick thing right now. I know I talked about this with you, but I don't know, I didn't talk about it with Kyle, but do bees go to school? I was walking from class the other day, and I got assaulted from a school of bees. They stay in packs. Bees always stay in packs.
This man is African American.
The bees or me? Oh,
100% black. That's a very high percentage.
Thrown off by the name Chung.
Okay, but where did he get the name?
He's from Jamaica. So.
Oh, see, but the thing is, in Jamaica, there's some people of Asian descent. Fun fact. Little tangent from what I was just talking about with the bees, but I believe it was Cuba where they had a lot of Chinese immigrants.
Wait, you're talking about the bees again?
No. They had a lot of Chinese immigrants who brought that culture there, but then you know how Cuba, they had a lot of immigrants to Florida. They brought that influence with them. So then there was a lot of
So China went to Cuba to Florida?
Yeah, pretty much.
So how does Jamaica go into this?
I don't know. Jamaica just made me think of Cuba. You're making me crazy, man.
Nice. So I looked up this bees thing, and so we're not going to do Patrick Chung anymore. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, let's just throw that out.
The bees thing. I looked it up, actually, because you had brought it up. They don't learn this stuff. And like I had told you.
Okay, just a little preface. Logan was arguing that the bees... my argument was pretty much like, do bees go to school to learn to pollinate, safety, regulations, whatnot? Because, bees are just like, they're a wild card. Sometimes they can, they can do whatever they want. But, yeah, continue.
So, it's not... You were suggesting... Carbonation is a bad thing. You were suggesting that they have like a social structure, which they do, but one where in which they go and educate themselves on the different tasks that they might have to do. Like there's worker bees, there's the queen, and then there's ones that like raise the little baby bees or whatever.
Yeah.
But I read they don't go to school to learn bee stuff like we would go to learn like arithmetic or how to read. They are born with it the way that we are born with the knowledge of how to take a shit or that we need to eat food. Like that kind of thing. Like they're just born with the ability. Really
so it's innate versus acquired.
Speaking of innate,
you can take a.
No, I'm
time.
good.
Okay, but yeah, I mean that was pretty much he answered my question. It's innate versus acquired, pretty much. I mean,
can you imagine though, like the bee movie, like they've got like
they gotta go to school and learn
with the little stick, and they're like pollinate, honey, profit. You see, kids.
I mean, without the input that Logan provided, what do you think, Kyle? Do you think bees go to school?
I think we're pretty much done with this. I didn't put any thought into this, so
because
Kyle has no emotional attachment to bees.
Absolutely.
Okay,
pollinators are in peril. Save the bees.
Save the bees. Also, this thought only came about because I thought about fish traveling in schools. They call like a group of fish a school of fish. So I was like, do fish go to schools? And then
no, that's just what they're called.
Yeah, but then I was
a group of cats is called a clouder. That doesn't mean anything.
What?
I'm just saying, like a herd of cattle, a clouder of cats, a school of fish. That's just what they're called. They don't actually go to they don't pay bee taxes to support the bee high school. They don't do that shit because they're dumb. I could squash
so they don't profit off the honey?
No.
So us evil humans profit off these bees' hard work, their labor?
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
Totally
Next topic.
Thank you very much. What you we'll come back to this. How about this? So Samsung Galaxy Fold. We skipped a bunch of things. We'll come back. It's not chronological. I didn't want to have to read that on the fly. They have their Galaxy Fold. It's like a phone that folds, which I think is actually a really cool idea, and I think will eventually become like pretty successful, but like not for like 3 generations probably. The first generation went out, like reviewer phones went out, so people could like, use it for a couple weeks, hands on, and then put out the review before the wide release, and it was pretty positive. A lot of people were like, "Oh, this is really good." It's obviously not perfect because it's Gen 1. But then slowly after, hours of use, they started not working and breaking. So basically from my understanding is there's like a tiny little plastic, like
the
cover.
Film. Yeah, there's
like a film on the top of the display. And looking at it, you would think when you first buy a phone, there's like those tiny little plastic things that you peel off to get the actual screen. And then you can put a real screen protector on it or just keep it blank. And so people thought that's what that was. But multiple reviewers have gone to peel it up only to destroy the display of this phone, which is not ideal.
Yeah. No. And I think it was MKBHD. I watched his video about it, and I think he was one of the reviewers who had peeled the like protective film off, and he had mentioned that it was like there was probably some kind of adhesive that made it stronger. So that's like pretty much that's a red flag with like
shouldn't rip this up.
Yeah, should not rip this up.
Yeah,
but I mean, that's like one of the things when you get a new phone, you're like, motherfucker. Should get some fingerprints on this.
Oh, so good. But then like an hour later, you're like, it looks like any other phone. Mm-hmm. But like when that first screen thing tear off, so nice, so nice. So they in kind of response, they have recalled every single reviewer phone, and they're not going back to the drawing board, but they've delayed the release.
See, I heard initially that they were going to go ahead with the release and that it was just some kind of user error that had been associated with the screen problem.
Yeah, that's what I heard as well. But then they were like,
they eventually followed up with.
They eventually followed up, and so they've delayed the release. They've withdrawn. They've like recalled all of the review copies of the phone so that they can kind of see what the fucking problem is. Because apparently one of the things is they test the Fold with a robot that's like, oh, you can withstand 400,000 folds of the phone. Well, a robot folds perfectly the exact same way every single time, but a human might, close it harder, or close it softer, or close it at different angles and stuff.
They drop it, take it in and out of their pocket.
Yeah, so in a perfect setting, yes, it works totally fine to withstand a certain amount of folds, like a shit ton of them, but in a real world, lifetime, usage setting, not so much.
It's not perfect.
But I really want them to succeed with this because I think foldable phones is actually a really cool idea.
What is the price point?
$2,000.
$2,000. Specifically, $1,980.
Okay. Yeah, that just adds to the dilemma of you have this process that we're also familiar with of removing the plastic from it, and then you immediately ruin $2,000. That's probably why they're like, well, we should delay this a little bit and not have to refund all these people $2,000.
I had seen something that it's been in the works for a long time.
I'm sorry, I gotta go to the bathroom. You guys can handle this for 30 seconds.
I'd seen something that it had been in the works for a long time, so I think the anticipation was just too much.
Yeah, that's for sure. You want to hop to one of your topics?
Yeah. Okay. Let's hop into this next one. A little intimate Kyle Thomas time. Could you win a fight against? I specifically wrote these up for Logan and Kyle to talk about. Close the door. All right. So I was at.
Okay. Yeah.
I was at work the other day.
Okay.
Well, this morning actually.
Glad you were thinking about this while you were at work.
So Kyle, you specifically, with 2 days of training, could you beat a drunk? A little preface. This segment is called "Could You Win a Fight Against?" So this is just a bunch of different random scenarios.
Okay.
Kyle, could you win a fight against a drunk dad of 5 at Applebee's going through a midlife crisis? And let's just say he's their drink of the month is a $1 margarita, and he's 5 deep. And his kids are screaming.
That is there's no context in terms of how the guy is. Is he built like me, or is he built like Stone Cold
That's the
Steve
wild
Austin?
card. That's the wild card. He could have a dad bod. See, if you're at Applebee's and you're over 50, this guy's over 50. You're over 50. You're having a midlife crisis. You probably have a gut. You probably don't take care of yourself, and your kids probably hate you. And in this situation, I'm personally saying I don't win a fight against this guy. He's fucking clocking me. The amount of time and dedication that you have to put to a young child versus me. Yeah, he's knocking me out cold. He's ending me.
Sounds like he's already messed up his life enough, and he doesn't have enough.
He has more life experience. Yeah.
He's just so angry at everything that
I mean, if you put me on PCP or something else, I could probably.
I don't understand the point of this segment.
Yeah, this segment is we don't know anything about this dad other than the fact that he has 5 kids. There's no correlation between physique and number of children. So
I mean, you just got to make the assumption that if he's a dad at Applebee's, he probably doesn't take care of himself. He's probably overweight, drinks too much, and he's just looking for a bad time.
This episode is brought to you by Applebee's. Applebee's, get the new $5 microwavable something or other with we're just like this segment makes no sense. But
let's talk about some actual good food in this week's Trader Joe's food item of the week.
Thank you, Kyle.
I do not have an actual prop for it because it's in the freezer downstairs and I didn't want to have to deal with it. But the tamales in the frozen food section.
Throw up a little graphic.
Sorry if you're just listening to this, but $2.29 for the green chili and cheese tamales. So throw that bad boy in a wet paper towel. This comes in a package of 2. Throw them in a wet paper towel in the microwave for 4 minutes. Nice and steamy. Very delicious. Actually, the other day I was chopping mine up and eating it with some chips. And that was a nice little way to do that.
Yeah, you told me about that. That sounds pretty fucking fire.
Do you have a Trader Joe's food item of the week?
I do, actually. My Trader Joe's food item of the week, right around the corner. I'm going to take my chip clip off because I know these guys won't sponsor us.
The chip clip guys?
So loud.
Yeah, the chip clip guys.
Oh, bad Thomas. No rubbing stuff on the mic.
I cut off the top logo, but jerk style plantain chips. Obviously these are fire because I've eaten more than half the bag because I'm an animal and I have no control in my life.
So there's that.
Yeah, they're pretty spicy. Let's get a little sample.
So loud. Yeah. I'm so scared at what
just
this is going to do
one.
to the microphone. So, because we keep giving them lots of free praise, I feel inclined to shit on them a little bit. Fuck you, Trader Joe's. You've somehow convinced people that you're this little mom and pop grocery store when in fact you're like the 5th largest grocery store in America. So, 3rd largest something. I don't know. I want to talk to your head of marketing because he probably has a lot to teach me. So yeah, because
sponsor us, goddammit. We've done like 6 podcasts talking about you guys. Give us a plug. Send us like a free bag of chips. I don't give a shit. Do something.
Do something.
I know your head of marketing doesn't give a shit about our podcast, but do something.
I specifically just didn't flush the toilet because I didn't want to blast audio waves through of that.
Cut that.
That beauty.
Let's just cut the whole thing or you pee.
I'm not cutting anything ever unless it embarrasses me. And I'm not embarrassed by that. Because unlike bees... No, wait. Like bees, I was born and I knew how to pee. So, I didn't have to go to school for that sort of thing.
Do bees pee?
Interesting.
No, we just opened a whole nother can of worms, but that'll be on episode 7.
All right. Well, so that's great. Do you want to talk about this music stuff, Kyle?
Sure. I can hop into this real quick. We haven't talked about music in a couple of episodes. I don't really know why. It just hasn't been on our minds. Maybe because last week we were more focused on the science with Kara. So, 2 specific albums that have come out over the past 14 days or so that I've really enjoyed. First of all is Ghetto Baby by Kevin Abstract of more recent Brockhampton fame. I really enjoy it. It's a short project. It's only like 22 minutes, but pretty damn good. Good follow-up to his album American Boyfriend.
Big pause right there real quick.
Yeah.
What do you think about this new age of shorter albums versus like a 1 hour plus
versus a 21-minute album?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the longer the album, the more beneficial it is for the artist in terms of like streams because people are going to play the whole album and you get more playtime off of that. But I don't know, you can take more.
But I feel like with these shorter albums, if an album is good enough off of its own merits, I will repeat it rather than, you saying that it'll get more streams if it's longer. People will be inclined to listen longer.
That's if everyone only listens to it once.
Yeah, that's... But if there's like... I don't want to name the albums, but like recent albums.
I've only listened to Scorpion 1 time.
Yeah, it's one
time. But I've listened to like Kids See Ghosts multiple times. So
and like Daytona, I've listened to that.
Daytona's shorter, and like an album like Meek Mill's Championships, that shit was long as hell. And
there's
6 good songs.
There's only a couple memorable songs. I feel like this new age of shorter albums is getting me to listen to it more frequently, whereas these longer albums, I'm just like, if there's only a couple songs that I like, I'm gonna nitpick those and put them into like my saved, like I'll listen to these. Sorry for pushing you off your thing.
It's an interesting topic in terms of like artist runtime, because you can have a much shorter album and just cherry pick good songs. Like there's definitely artistic merit in just doing the best of the best as opposed to trying to fill out the track listing. And then the other album I wanted to mention was Anderson .Paak came out with a second album in like 6 months, Ventura. Yikes.
Which one do you like more, Ventura or Oxnard?
I personally like Ventura more. I like Anderson .Paak's like more R&B soul focused stuff. I thought Dr. Dre's production on the first one, he really kind of grabbed the album by the balls and like twisted it how he wanted it to be. And for me, it didn't fit what Anderson .Paak excels at the most, which doesn't fit with Anthony Fantano's opinion. So clearly my opinion is invalid.
I mean, I respect your opinion.
Thank you.
I didn't know those two cities or those two album names were like cities.
Yeah.
But when I was in Los Angeles and I was looking at a map, I was like, oh, there's where I'll be. Oxnard and Ventura. They're like right next to each other.
Oh my God, they made the album into a city?
They turned Ventura into a real thing. Holy shit.
Oh my God,
I think Ventura is actually where Anderson .Paak's from.
Yeah, he's from one of the two cities.
I think it's... Oh shit, no, he's definitely from Oxnard. Damn it.
Yeah, no, new album's fire. I really wanted to see you there's no way you fucking listen to this. I really wanted to see you when you came to Portland, but you sold out. So
he sold out.
So I won't be seeing you. I won't be seeing you this summer. But album's good.
Your album is good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for not listening to our podcast.
Speaking of podcast, looks like we're out of time for this fucking shit show episode of the Dojo Podcast. That's it.
What are we doing?
Right, the Dojo Podcast. Thanks for watching or listening. We're now on some podcast platforms. It's still kind of shaking out, but we're on like Spotify, Google Podcasts, a bunch of other stuff that like I don't know what it is.
If you want to get all the latest news, follow us on our Instagram at the Dojo Pod. We have a Facebook.
Really?
And all the
Facebook.
We've got a Facebook.
We have a Facebook. So follow us on there. All the latest news updates, you'll be hit with that.
Please buy our merch.
Please buy our merch. Yeah, that's also new.
Plain white t-shirts. All right, that's all we have. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for watching.